Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and off we
go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Hey there, awesome friends.
Guess what?
We're super thrilled to share some exciting news with you.
We've got our very own Lively Lewis merchandise.
Woohoo! Grab your parents and head over to livelylewisshop.com or simply click on the link below in our show notes.
Now, let's dive into today's story.
Harry, Casey, and Troy were sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to hear what Levi and Ivy would say about Alice and her unbelievable adventure to find the magic door in Sweets Wonderland that would lead her back to the real world. As Levi was about to start telling his friends the rest of the story, the door to the mess hall opened. They all turned around with a jump, thinking their counselors had come back to see what was taking them so long. But that was not the case. Instead, the door opened and a woman in tan pants and a blue shirt walked in pulling a wagon full of candies and snacks. "Sorry, kids, I didn't mean to scare you," said the woman. "I'm just here to fill up the vending machine. Go right back to your story." Levi and Ivy looked at the woman a bit longer than Harry, Casey, and Troy. The three of them quickly turned their attention back to the story, waiting for Levi and Ivy to do the same. "Levi," whispered Ivy, Does that woman look familiar to you?" A little," answered Levi. "But we should get back to the story." Levi took another quick look at the woman as she began to fill the vending machine before he started to tell everyone the rest of the story. At this point, Alice was running through the forest with the three gingerbread men looking for Levi and Ivy. She was confident she would find them, but as they rounded the first turn down a dark path, things didn't look so good. "Stop!" called out one of the gingerbread men. "Watch out for the hot chocolate!" Normally, Alice would run toward hot chocolate. She loved it. But that day, it definitely was something to avoid. Alice and the other two gingerbread men came to a fast stop right at the edge of the hot chocolate river that was running in front of them. "How are we going to get over that?" asked one of the gingerbread men. "I think I know a way we can get across," said Alice, doing some quick thinking. "When I have hot chocolate, the one thing that seems to last forever are the big marshmallows that I put on top. There have to be marshmallows somewhere in Sweet Wonderland, right?" One of the gingerbread men jumped right up and ran through a large patch of green licorice grass. He was only gone a minute before he returned with 4 giant marshmallows. "I think these will work nicely," said the gingerbread man with a smile. He took all 4 marshmallows and tossed them into the chocolate river. Then he, the other 2 gingerbread men, and Alice each jumped on one and floated across the river. Once they reached the other side, the marshmallows melted away. They each jumped off and landed safely on the cookie crumble shore. "Those marshmallows were just the right size. Thank you," exclaimed Alice to the gingerbread men. The 4 friends continued through the forest, running past gumdrop trees and milk chocolate waterfalls before they ended up in a field full of lollipops. Every color, size, and shape you could imagine. And it was then that they finally found Levi and Ivy. "Alice, over here!" Levi called out, waving his arm from behind a big pink and red lollipop. "I'm so glad to see you!" shouted Alice as she and the 3 gingerbread men ran up to Ivy and Levi. Alice explained to Levi and Ivy that the gingerbread men were there to help them find the magic door and return to the real world. Levi and Ivy looked hopeful, but also a little nervous. "We've been trying to find the magic door here for the last 2 days, said Levi. "It's harder to find it than you would think," added Ivy. "You think a door in the middle of all this candy would be easy to see, but we haven't been able to find it." "That's where the gingerbread men come in," said Alice. "Just trust them and follow us. I know we can do this together." As Alice, Levi, and Ivy and the 3 gingerbread men took off through the lollipop forest, they soon found out that this was going to be a little harder than they had first thought. As they were running in between the lollipops, they heard a rumbling sound. They all stopped and stared in every direction before they saw them. A whole giant group of gummy bears? They were much bigger than the gummy bears that Alice, Levi, and Ivy enjoyed for a sweet snack. They towered over the 3 friends and they didn't look happy at all. "How dare you try to cross the lollipop forest without the queen knowing," said the red gummy bear. "Someone's called the queen and her guards immediately," exclaimed the green gummy bear as she and his gummy group stood right in front of the gingerbread men, Alice, Levi, and Ivy. Alice knew right away she had some more quick thinking to do. What could stop a gummy bear? Alice thought to herself, and then she figured it out. The last time she ate gummy bears, she had them on top of ice cream. She remembered thinking it would be really, really tasty, chewy treat on top of her cold ice cream. But instead, the gummy bears became very hard and very difficult to chew. That's it, Alice exclaimed. There has to be some snow cones around here, right? The gingerbread men shook their heads yes. Yes, there are some not too far from here, one gingerbread man said. They grow at the base of the fruit punch waterfalls. No sooner did he finish talking than another one of the gingerbread men ran off to grab them. Alice, Levi, and Ivy all did their best to hold off the gummy bears as they kept a lookout for the mean queen and her guards. A few minutes passed before a very chilly gingerbread man ran back holding a few giant snow cones. Just trust me, said Alice, as she grabbed the snow cones and gave them to Levi and Ivy. Just wave them in front of the gummy bears. Then she told Levi and Ivy to fling the cones toward the bears on the count of 3. They all did it together, and as soon as chili-flavored ice hit the gummy bears, they froze in place. The berry chili gummies couldn't move, couldn't walk, and couldn't talk. So that meant that the gingerbread men, Alice, Levi, and Ivy, could finally get around them and through the lollipop forest. It was really cool hanging out with you guys, giggled Alice as she ran past the gummy bears. Yeah, just stay here and chill out, laughed Ivy as she followed Alice. We're sure you'll thaw out soon. As Alice, Levi, and Ivy followed the gingerbread men, they saw something in the distance that didn't look like a tasty, sweet treat. The door! The magic door! Exclaimed Alice. I can see it! It's right there past those fondant flowers! But just when Alice, Levi, and Ivy thought they were home free, they saw a few other things that weren't as sweet at all. The Queen of Sweet Wonderland and her guards. Just where do you think you're going? Said the Queen as she pointed to her guards to jump in front of the magic door. At this point, so much was going on that Alice didn't notice that the gingerbread men had snuck off to the tall licorice grass on the side of the trail. Well, it looks like we've stopped you just before you got to the magic door, said the Queen with a laugh. Looks like you'll be here for a little longer than you thought. Alice was out of ideas and looked at Levi and Ivy to see if they could think of anything. Unfortunately, they just looked back at her. We don't know what to do either, whispered Ivy. We're sorry. And just when they thought all hope was lost and they would have to live in Sweet Wonderland forever, they heard a noise in the long licorice grass. Who dares to sneak up on the Queen? Said the Queen, ordering her guards to investigate. Alice watched as the guards and the Queen turned their attention to the long licorice grass. They walked further and further into the grass as the noise continued. This is our chance, whispered Alice to Levi and Ivy. Let's go! And without a moment more of thought, the 3 friends jumped towards the magic door, grabbed the doorknob, and turned it. The door swung open, and just as the Queen and her guards realized that no one was watching Alice, Levi, and Ivy anymore, no! Shouted the Queen as she watched the 3 friends jump through the door and back into the real world. Alice turned around before the door closed and saw the 3 gingerbread men pop their heads out of the long licorice grass and wave. Alice smiled back and waved with great appreciation. As the door swung closed, it disappeared, and Alice, Levi, and Ivy found themselves sitting in the middle of a big field, right back at the summer camp. They sat there for a while, still and quiet. Was that, a dream? Asked Alice. Dream or not, I don't think we'll ever forget it, said Levi and Ivy. And that, my friends, is why we don't want to eat that candy, said Levi. It just seems like maybe it could happen to us, said Ivy. I mean, our names were in the story. Casey, Harry, and Troy didn't know what to think, but they loved the story. They told Levi and Ivy they should tell it again at the next campfire. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, said a voice from behind them. It was 2 of their camp counselors. Okay, you 5, time to get back to your bunks, said one of the counselors. If you get back there right now, we won't tell anyone that you have all this candy. Wow, thanks, said Harry, Casey, Troy, Levi, and Ivy. As they got up and gathered their candy, Levi said one final thing. They never found out where Alice ended up next, but we know that she will always find a way to get back home. As Levi and Ivy walked out of the mess hall, Levi turned to his counselor and said, "Hey, who is that woman filling the vending machines? She looks really familiar." "Yeah, I feel like I know her somehow," added Ivy. "Oh, her?" answered the counselor. "That's Alice. She just started here this summer." Levi and Ivy couldn't believe their ears. They turned around to see if she was still there, but all they saw was the door swinging as she left. And on the mess hall table where they'd been sitting was a single dream bar. "You don't think that was," started Levi. "No, I don't think so," said Ivy. But then again, anything is possible. Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.